Hi everybody, my name is Anne-Marie Houghtailing and I am the co-founder of Story Imprinting, and we teach companies and individuals the science, structure and application of storytelling, as well as leadership, business development, executive presence, and how to convert presentations. Today I want to talk a little bit about executive presence and the idea of authentic leadership. We do a lot of training on this, and the question comes up repeatedly. This idea of when we talk about authenticity, what does that mean and how do we actually actionably engage with authenticity and sort of have some self-awareness about what that even means? We throw around this language without a lot of thought about what we mean in terms of behavior. And I would say that there are lots of ways into this, but to me, the heartbeat of it, the most important piece of it, is the notion of being credible and trustworthy and speaking the truth. And that sounds really simple, doesn't it? Like, can you hear my dog back here with this toy? It's so loud. So my apologies for that. She's leaving the room, thank goodness. But anyway, what it really is about at the heartbeat to me is about truth telling and being able to deliver the truth in a way that is not punitive, that is not emotionally charged, but that is at its bare essence where you come from and sort of believing what you're saying. I believe this in the context of feedback. I think that feedback is largely delivered when, as a form of punishment. It's largely delivered in a way that is not about the investment and advancement of someone else and their growth and development. It's to sort of release your own anger and frustration. And so I think, to me, the idea of authenticity is, how do you have really critical conversation? How do you express your disappointment without punishing people silently? I don't think that that is authentic. I think it's really destructive. How do you talk about somebody's behavior that isn't serving them and say to them, I am profoundly invested in your professional advancement, and therefore I'm going to give you some feedback that's crucial to making you better? So to me, at the heartbeat of authenticity, at the very least, isn't just merely about sort of you showing up in, the jacket you want to show up in that day. And believe me, I'm all about that. It's also about really speaking the truth and learning how to have conversations that others are avoiding. One of the things I always say in training is, if you're talking about someone, stop and talk to them instead. This takes a degree of, in my opinion, a degree of character and a degree of sort of sense of loyalty to yourself, by the way, is what I'm saying. This idea that you are not going to gossip, that you're not going to participate in that kind of activity, but instead choosing to do the harder thing and have a conversation with someone about something that is stressful or upsetting or that you disagree with. These are hard things to do. We would much prefer to rant on social media, complain in the break room with somebody else. Those are really easy things to do. What is hard is to have a conversation that you're afraid of. And so this is all to say, I used to say to my children when they were younger, when your moral compass is spinning, choose what's difficult. It's probably what is also right. And we do a lot of very, very, very high-level executive coaching. And when somebody is struggling with a person, the very first question we always ask them is, have you had a conversation about this? And I will share with you that about 90% of the time they have not. And so one of the issues I think we're struggling with in business and society is the idea of having really high-quality civil dialogue and being able to disagree with respect and with sort of a sense of dignity. And so one of the things I would say is, when you are looking at yourself in this context of authentic leadership, begin by asking yourself, are there conversations that you're avoiding? Are there conversations that you are having with other people instead of with the person directly, and start thinking about what would change if you started having those conversations. And I think one of the things that would change instantly is it increases your credibility and your connection to people. Counterintuitively, it makes people trust you more because you're coming directly to them. You're speaking to them confidentially and directly. And I say all this just from 15 years of experience, but also just watching the destruction that occurs and the degradation of your personal brand when you aren't having these conversations. It's not an exaggeration to say I've seen people who will leave a job instead of just having a difficult conversation. And the singular strategy people employ when they're struggling is to increase their tolerance rather than to do the really difficult thing and have the conversation. So, in relationship to authenticity and in relationship to how to radically transform your communication and leadership, start by thinking about having conversations that you're avoiding, that you find challenging, that you find might be difficult. That is the heartbeat of authenticity. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I'd be happy to answer them. I hope this finds you well.